I have some very good news. The sauna blanket people that I wanted to get the sauna blanket from that said they weren't doing them for our market because, of course, America, for some reason, has old wiring and only has like half the voltage going through their wires. So the sauna blanket I wanted is completely different wiring on the inside as well as, anyway, they're making them again. Yay! Which is good because if we go into lockdown again, I at least want a sauna blanket.
So you're getting one from the UK, Europe?
It'll be a UK EU one. I've just gone on a wait list for it.
Cool.
But very cool and portable and like there's all sorts of ones, but I really like the higher dose ones because of like the way they've built them and like how they're using quartz crystals and et cetera is super interesting. So anyway, I don't know where, oh, there's Adrian. Anyway, so we're going to do quad openers, which for you two is just perfect, or 3 if Diego joins in. So to start with, we want to get the quads warmed up. So we're going to go through our down dog.
Sorry.
You're noisy. Mute Mike. Mute Adrian. All right, cool. So to start with today, just coming forward into your tabletop, and I want to get you to push through into down dog, but really informally. So just get everything sort of wiggling around. Bending the knees, pushing through, straightening the arms. I even want to get you to start like touching ankles one at a time. And as you do that, you really want to push the ground away on the hand that's still on the shoulder. Not hand that's still on the floor, hand that's still on the shoulder. And bend the knees, wriggle and pedal. And then come down into child, push all the way back. And then keeping your hands, really push them into the deck, dig your toes in, and lift your knees just off the floor. I'm just going to adjust my screen. So lifting your knees just off the floor. And then I want you to come forward and back to that active position. Forward, back. 3, we're going to go for 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really pushing the ground away as hard as you can, all the way back into child. Give it a wriggle. Coming back up into your tabletop. This might be a slight challenge for your mobility. We're going to bring, I'm going to start with my left side back because it's my tighter hip flexor, and step my right foot forward to my little finger on my right hand side. So I've got this really nice square right angled shape. And from here, pushing up. My back toe is tucked in, that's important. So I'm not here, I'm here. And I'm going to suck my abs in, pull my shoulders down, put a little lean into that. And we're just holding. Of course, the sunlight has shifted, so now my really cool curtain is not doing, or blind is not doing as much work as it was before. Keeping your abs on, butt off, lean into that. And now what I want to do is start squeezing my pelvis towards my face, like I'm trying to hump my face. So that looks like this. Get that going. So I've got that lean there, and now I'm going to squeeze here and rotate this up for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I want you to wriggle that front foot forward and now take a nice deep lean into that, but keep your abs on. And keep your back toe tucked in. Shoulders are down the back, ribs are in if you can get them to pull in with your abdominals as well. I'm almost going to start pushing back off that front quad to get a bit more of a back bend into this. Hands come down on the inside of that knee. Take the leg back, push back into child pose. Just going to adjust this ever so slightly. All the way back into child. Head on the floor. Take the time to breathe all the way out. And all the way in from the bottom to the top. And like a big sigh with it all the way out. Just for view, I'm going to spin this around. From here, dragging your hands in under your shoulders and dragging your head and shoulders up. This time I'm going to leave the right leg back. So I want to dig those toes in. Step forward on the left leg, right hip back. I'm going to suck my abs in, lean into it, and hold. I have a feeling the builders are going to make some noise today. They already have. Good. Now I want to take into this that wrapping the hip up. So I'm going to suck my abs and squeeze my butt and rotate for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Lean into it. So wriggle that left foot forward. Lean in. Start to push back on that. Butt should be off. Abs on. Suck in your abdominals. Pull in your ribcage. And push off that front leg. Note that back toe is still tucked. It's kind of hard to see in the sunlight. I'm getting a second blind. I quite like that one. If you can't do the lean back, that's fine. It's just an added option at this point. And we're going to bring our hands down on the inside of that knee. Push that leg back and back into child again. Rounding through the back. Taking the toes and flattening them down. So even though it's not a quad stretch per se, we definitely want to get into our butt and stretch it out a little bit. So we're just going to go for a 90-90, given my audience. So I'm going to draw my hands in under my shoulders and drag myself up to sitting. Just coming forward again into my tabletop, I'm going to push through into that down dog and pedal it around a little bit. And then I want to pick my tighter side. So I'm going to pick my left side to bring my left knee forward and turn my right foot out. And now I'm going to sit to the side. The reason I'm going to sit to the side as opposed to going into pigeon is because this is going to be a slightly different stretch, and it's going to allow us to keep this front knee more open. So at least a right angle. I'm actually going to go with something slightly more severe. So slightly bigger than a right angle. And from here, back leg becomes optional, but I'm actually just going to put it in 90 degrees behind me. Then I want to roll square to this and fold forward. When I fold forward, it should be that my rib cage is inside that front quad. So, and I want to try and keep my shoulders squared to the ground as well. So I don't want to kind of be collapsing to one side. Instead, I'm going to flatten that whole process and make it parallel. If you are spilling, in this case, it would be to the left of my left leg. If I was spilling over this way, I would actually contrive that with quite a bit of push from this arm over. Interesting, depending on which side you're doing and what tensions you have, you may also feel this like on the inside here, as opposed to just at the back. Last 20 seconds. And we're going to walk that up. For me, I'm going to have to tuck that foot in ever so slightly. And then left hand by the left knee, right hand by the left foot. I'm going to dig the back toe in and straighten it out. So now I'm going to take advantage of that kind of pigeon shape by pushing back, rolling up over into it, and back into my down dog, pedaling it out. And then I want to bring my right knee to my right hand and turn the foot out to my left hand. I'm going to spin that round to the front again. So what I do on my tight side, I do on my not so tight side. That's why we usually start with our tight side in this class. I'm going to open that knee up a little bit more, square myself up to this, and fold forward again. Good. There's some hammering for you guys. There was a saw earlier, an electric saw. That was fun. I'm actually just impressed that builders turn up every day. I didn't think they did that, but they do. It's really impressive. Again, trying to make sure that that rib cage is inside that thigh and that the shoulders are square. It's definitely better to be, I think, to be higher up and square than to be more folded. So better to have those shoulders nice and level, drawn down the back, and you fold forward with that chest. Now that lovely New Zealand has gone into level 1 and the world has gone back to normal, I might do a little poll and see, but I may shift this time into a lunchtime slot. We'll see. So I'll have less Zoom clients. "20 seconds to go in this position." Good. Walking yourself up, right hand by right knee, left hand by right foot. Straighten that back leg out, dig the toe in, and push back into your down dog, which I'm going to walk around. Now we're doing very informal down dogs today, but there is always this tendency for me to want to get you guys to focus on the handstand line, which is the line from your hands to your butt. I'm going to get you to do that now, which means I really want you to bend your knees as much as you can. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, look for your belly button, suck in your abs, push the ground away as hard as you can, and really keep that bent knee position. From here, you're going to slowly push your heels to the ground and really look for that belly button. Don't straighten your legs if it means giving away the line of your handstand. And we come down into child pose, push all the way back. Take the time to breathe out every last little drop. And breathe all the way in from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. You are bigger than you think you are. So I encourage you to expand beyond what you think your breathing capacity is. Excellent. Drawing hands in under shoulders and dragging yourself up. We're going to come onto our backs. For both of my current participants in this particular class, this is the mean one. This is a really cool exercise, except for the fact that if you don't do it, if you don't or haven't done it in many years, it's going to be really challenging. So it should give us some quad length, and we're going to sub it between this and doing a saddle pose or a half saddle. So, and we're probably going to do a couple of rounds, so very un-yoga of us. I'm going to pull my feet into my butt with them both on the floor. Then I want to, so I'm right up on my tiptoes on the balls of my feet. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wriggle on my shoulders like a kid playing on the floor over my feet. So you can see my knees are way over now. So you'll remember earlier when we did the lunge, we did this hip rounding towards our face. I want to be on the balls of my big toes. I want my knees to pinch slightly towards each other. And I want to do that hip rounding, so suck my abs and squeeze my butt and get myself to lift just off my feet. As I do that action, I want to actively try to push my knees towards the floor. So it's a big long stretch in these quads. So I wrap my hips, squeeze, push up and down. Up and down. Good. We're going to do 20 of these. So that's 4. Keep those knees coming towards each other. 5, 6, 7. Push the knees down as you go up. Wrap the hips. 9, 10. Now mine's quite severe, but I have had people do this with much less of a bend in here, and that's fine. It's a good place to start. So we're still going. We'll make that 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, last one, 20. Wriggle back onto your back, give your knees a hug in. Got to release that lower back a bit. And it is normal that the lower back kind of gets a little bit hammered with some of these if we're not very good at them. But it will help with regeneration of the lower back. Will help if you actually have back problems. Though maybe in the short term, you might find that that's often a little bit niggly. I'm now going to cross my left ankle over my right knee. And if you just follow me with left and rights on this, because it's going to make it easier to explain. And then I'm going to grab, so I've got left ankle and right knee. I'm going to grab either my quad or my shin in, through, and underneath. So I've gone like basically through the legs and around the legs. I'm just going to pull that right in. And my left knee, I'm going to push it away from me, either with my left hand or actively with the muscles. And then I'm going to place my right foot on the floor, so you've got to let it go with the hands. I've still got my left knee, my left foot over my right knee, and I'm going to drop that towards you guys. Excuse my little sneeze. And then, so I've got now my left foot on the floor, and my left knee is going to push away from me. Yeah? So that's going away. And now my left arm, I'm going to look towards it and reach it away from me as much as I can. And I want to keep opening this hip. Good. Relax. Bring yourself back to face the legs. Press your right foot into the floor. And now we go to the other side. So now it's left foot on the floor, right knee over the knee, right foot over the knee. And then I'm going to reach through and, as I did on the other side, grab that leg either around the quad or over the shin. My right knee pushes away from me, or I actively push, or I passively push it by using my hand. Sounds like they're shooting birds outside now. I'm sure they're not, but that's what it sounds like. Placing your left foot on the floor And then the right foot, so turning your knees so the right foot lands on the floor. I'm going to push that right knee away from me, actively in my case, and I'm going to reach towards you guys. I even want to try and lengthen this sort of side body here, the ribs, almost pull the hip away from me as much as I can. And pushing the left foot into the floor to bring yourself up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take both legs into the air. Just going to do a hinge pose to come up. So my hands just under my butt, my feet flexed. I'm going to look for my abdominals and slowly dropping my feet to the floor. Just before I get there, I'm going to push up off my heels. Off my heels, off my hands, off my elbows. Wow, I don't have words today. Words are not with me. All right, so I'm going to set myself up with a bolster just to show you the option, but we're going to do half saddles for 2 minutes. So this is where we're going to get a little bit repetitive, and the reason we're doing that is it's not always enough to do it once. And when we're really trying to create some adaptation, playing around with just the same thing over and over again has benefit. So here's my bolster. I'm going to use it on the opposite hip to the one that I'm going to stay tucked under. I'm going to bring, so in this case, I'm going to go right leg bent under me and left leg bent up. And I'm going to lie back onto that bolster with my left butt cheek on there. Now, because my bolster's not quite long enough for what I want, I can also just prop my head there with a block. So I'm just in that position there. Now, it's very common in these positions for that knee to really skate out. I really don't want that to happen, particularly if we're doing a half. So I'm going to pull the knee in. Now for me, this actually is making setting myself up like this makes the half saddle more intense. If I was just lying on the ground, this wouldn't be as intense because I'd be rocking slightly out of the stretch. So I really like using the bolster for it. Also, what makes it more intense is by very deliberately bringing my right knee back to my left foot. Now, if I did want something more extreme here, and that's particularly for those really bendy people who usually do a full saddle, I bring this left knee in and give it a hug. And of course, I can play more with that, but today, my body's not up for it, so I'm not going to. But I mean, your other option there is to start straightening it up as well, and you can start adding stretches, or you can pull it even more in and start bringing it over your head. Again, really depending on your bendiness here. I want that right knee, if I'm going to pull it in, to come towards my body, not towards my left arm. So I really want it to come more to the midline. Or, again, I can just hang out here. This is about a 60% stretch for me, and to be honest, 60% over 2 minutes is enough. We're 1 minute in. I'm getting quite a nice stretch around my knee. It's going to give me some good room later for back bending. Got 30 seconds left here. So to come out of this one, because I'm on the bolster, it actually makes life a lot easier. So much easier just to push up from here. But also because it's one-legged, it makes it a lot easier. So if I just put some weight into my left foot, push down, I can fold my right foot out fairly easily. And now I'm going to turn to the side, give my knees a little bit of a hug into my chest just to unwind the back, and go to the other side. So I'm going to spin this around this way this time. So I'm in here. I now want to go that left leg under, and I want to set that bolster up on my right side so that I can slightly sit on it. I'm going to bend that right knee up, get my block ready. I want to set it up the same on both sides because I want to work to symmetry as best I can without being too neurotic about it. I'm going to lie back on that bolster. Clearly haven't set that up right because I've got more bolster than I thought. That's better. Just slightly hanging off the end like I was on the other side. Propping with the block. And just hanging for 2 minutes. So again, I want to watch what that knee is doing. And it's definitely, interestingly, today is my tightest side. It isn't always. Got my abs on, my butt off. I might start playing with that knee if it's there for me. When I was about 20, I had a false sciatic pinch on my right side, which meant that every now and again I would bend down for no real like strain or anything like that, like just to bend down and pick something up off the ground, and shooting pain would run up the backs of my legs and freeze me in time. And one of the stretches that I really got into to help with that was this stretch. And in fact, the 90-90 posture, or the pigeon pose, was also super helpful. And twisting dragon, another one of my favorites. False sciatica feels just like real sciatica, except for what it is it's the bunching of muscles or the tension of the muscles around the nerve. So it has the same effect as a disc bulging out and pushing into those nerves, because it still strangles them or puts extra pressure on them. But it's probably much easier to deal with when it comes to rehabbing it. I would still claim, however, both can be rehabbed. And the pathway starts the same. You must release the legs to release the pelvis and ideally locate it back in the right place. Our last 20 seconds here. And I'm going to push through that right leg to release that left leg. Or I could just turn and roll off my bolster, which I'm going to do anyway, so I can come into that hug on the side, just pulling my knees in. For those of you whose lower backs aren't used to that bend, you will feel it. And it will feel probably not necessarily very nice, and maybe like something you might question whether you should be doing it. Personally, I think you should do it. In my experience with my low back and my false sciatica and all that sort of stuff, this regeneration was really necessary to get my back to bend. So from here, I'm going to push all the way back into a child pose and just take the time to allow that back to stretch and round out. Take the time to push all the air out of the lungs, every last little drop, and breathe all the way in from the very bottom of the spine beyond the crown of the head. Bit more hammering from the builders, yay! And then from there, breathe a big sigh of relief out and sink into the floor. I'm going to take the time to draw our hands in under our shoulders and uncurl up on a breath out. And we're going to come back onto our back. So we're going to go through that hip thrust again. So from here, I'm going to come all the way back, reset it up so that my feet are as close to my butt, or my big toes are as close to my butt as I can get them. I'm right up on my tiptoes. And from there, I'm going to push myself up and over. Yeah? I'm going to squeeze my heels together, suck my abs in. And as I remember, my knees have got that slight bit of tension towards each other. As I push my hips up and towards my face to get that little distance up off the heels, I'm going to push the knees down. So I'm going to come through here, squeeze up and down, up and down. And I want to keep trying to push those knees down to the ground as I go, up and down. Good. We go for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 more, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wriggling back onto your back. You can hug one knee at a time if that's easier, and then both, just to get that lower back going back the other way. This is probably the biggest mistake people make, is that they do a lot of stuff that's essentially holding their spine in a back bend position, like sitting in a chair all day, and then they never undo it. They maintain sitting in various chairs, couches, etc. And the way that positions the hips is that you're actually constantly kind of like bending your low back into compression, but without any strength involved. And so it's weak and like badly positioned. So it's very important to hug your knees or to get yourself into child pose. Good. From here, we're going to put the right foot on the floor, the left knee over the top, and we're going to grab through and pull that in. The right knee pushes away from us actively or passively by pushing on it with the hand. Can, of course, grab here under the knee. There's the buzzsaw. I knew the buzzsaw would come up while we were in this session. And then I'm going to put that right foot on the floor, right by my butt. I'm going to allow my hips to drop so the left foot hits the ground. And then the left knee pushes away from me and the left arm reaches away and I look at it. And I'm trying to lengthen down that side there. God, that's a pretty noise. Really like that one. This will be, I'll have builders on this place for the next 3 weeks after this, I think. So, yeah, depending on how noisy they are, depends on what kind of session you're going to get and where it's going to be. And depends on whether you get to witness a murder. How very yogic of me. And then I'm going to bring my hands back so I can look at this knee that's in front of me. I'm going to press my right foot into the floor, rocking my legs back up, and change feet, left foot on the floor, right foot on the knee, grabbing through. And this knee here pushing away, obviously, or actively. So I'm using my muscles to push it away from me as opposed to my hand. Slightly different stretch for me as well, that. And I'm going to go to left foot on the floor, and then right foot over on the floor. Right knee pushes away from me, and my right hand is going to reach towards you. And I'm lengthening this body here. And pushing the left foot into the floor, I come back. I'm going to bring both feet up into the air. So we're just running that pattern that we did earlier again. Put my hands underneath my butt. Lift and look for my abdominals. Dropping my legs slowly towards the floor. Just before I get there, I push up off my elbows and hinge. From here, we're going to come back. This time, I'm going to go for a full saddle. We're going to hold it for a full 4 minutes. I'm going to use the bolster again as well. Towels are a really good option instead of a bolster, by the way. Nice folded towels. What I want you to consider with this is whether you want to do a half or a full. I know for some people that are in the middle of this with me, that doing a half is more appropriate. And so halfway through, I'm going to get you to change over. So you're going to get about 1.5 minutes and 1.5 minutes on each. So from here, I'm going to sit on both feet. I'm going to bring my knees together. There's actually quite a nice hack here. Your knees don't need to be touching. You want them to be about hip distance apart. Taking a block and actually squeezing it with your knees is a good way to make sure that as long as you can feel the block, that your knees are actually probably close enough together for this one. And then if I walk myself backwards, and you'll see I'm not sitting on the bolster this time. I've actually got my butt on my heels. That's an option. And because we're doing back bending, you may find it beneficial to sit on the bolster. That's going to give you more lengthening into the quads. So from here, working yourself back, I'm going to start the timer now. Because I'm on the bolster, you'll notice I've got my hands currently on my rib cage, but actually I'm going to let my hands flop out. And again, this is this idea of undoing the desk. And this is a reason everybody should own a bolster. Even if all you do is lie over your bolster and allow your arms to fall behind you like this, so that this chest naturally stretches out, this would be life-changing for those of you who dwell at desks. Not as life-changing as hanging from a bar, but pretty good all the same. 1 more minute for those in the half saddle. Make sure your butt is relaxed. Don't want your glutes getting in your way. Make sure you can still feel that block between your knees. For those of you in half, you can come out now and change sides. And to go with my timer, you want to be getting into that half about now, that other half. If you went too deep into your stretch, like we're doing a 4-minute hold here, if you go too deep into that stretch too fast, you probably know about it by now, and you probably need to back it off a bit. You really are looking for 60 to 80% of your stretch for these long holds. And if you didn't know that when you started the class today, now you know. And now when you do more yin stuff, you can be gentler with your body. It's important to resist your ego when it comes to going into the deepest version of your stretch for 4 minutes. If your body is fighting you, it won't let go. And you will get more gains if you work slowly and gently with an unfolding process, as opposed to trying to force it. We have 40 seconds here. In order to come out of this one, you can either, because I'm on the bolster, it's quite easy to start pushing up out of this, or I actually pretty much always rock out of this. So I rock to one knee, lift a foot, and then of course I can push through that foot to flick the other foot out, and I'm going to roll off my bolster all the way onto my side, because I want to be able to hug my knees into my chest. And of course, after being sat like that for a while, this might be a bit of a slow, tentative process. I want to get myself into a double hug lying on my side. So you have two options here. You can either just lie on your back and go into Shavasana and just relax, or you can go onto your back. We're going to come back up with a hinge, and we're just going to do some very active forward folding. Just to undo this, as I said, when we bend one way, we want to bend the other, and saddle pose is very much a low back bend and a low level back bend. And actually, it's also very, very much closed chain, so it really exposes a very, very intricate part of your back bend and how weak it is. So we really want to bend it back the other way. So I'm going to put my hands under my butt. Those of you who want to stay in Shavasana, by all means, allow your feet and hands to fall out and just lie there. I'm going to bend my toes towards my face, or flex my ankles, lift up to look for my belly button, slow drop towards the ground, and just hinge up off my elbows to come up to sitting. We've done this one a few times. As I mentioned in my yoga class at Les Mills last week, this one was given to me by an osteopath yogi who learned in the 70s in Pune. And it always reminds me how much the body loves to push and pull away from itself to create lengthening. It's a really interesting interplay of agonist-antagonist muscles. I can also hug my knees for this. If you're less bendy, hug underneath. If you're more bendy, grab your the soles of your feet. I'm going to tuck my head right to my knees, take a breath in. Excuse the buzzsaw, as I breathe out, I'm going to extend those legs away from me, not losing my connection with my thighs, right? So as soon as I start to lose that connection, I'm going to come back up, take a breath in, breath out. Come up, breath in, breath out. 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 If you want to, you can hang out there for a little bit longer or fold into Shavasana. I am going to have to get going for the day. But I just wanted to make a quick note before we leave about the sequence that we did today, if I can find a non-sunny spot in my room. And that is, these kind of sequences expose what living in chairs and couches have done for us, which isn't positive, which is very anti our kidneys and our lower organs and how our stomach works, etc. So you don't have to do a full hour sequence, but I would recommend, if you found something today challenging, pick one and for 2 weeks do that movement. I quite like to pair them up because I like to take advantage of something as active as the hip thrust kind of movement that we did, and then saddle pose. If I'm going to do saddle pose, of course, I'm going to do a forward fold. But sometimes I just play with the hip thrusters or the lunge with the hip rounding, and that's all I do. But that'll be enough to change a little bit the way my leg works when I walk. And I want that change because I want my hamstrings and my ass to work better and my abs to be aligned better so that I'm getting more just from walking. Anyway, that said, thank you for coming. I will convert this video and throw it up on YouTube. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a line anywhere you like. For those of you in the room, I'm going to stop recording now. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you are watching this on YouTube. Catch you later.